everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you for joining me on this lovely Sunday. It's February 13th, 2022. This is going to be the weekly astro weather, but I guess the main headline would be, holy cow, full moon in Leo. It is going to be a big one, kiddos. So that's probably what most of our conversation today is going to be about. But those of you guys who are avid watchers of my channel, welcome back. Those of you guys who are new, every Sunday we discuss the astrology for the week ahead. If it involves a new moon, a full moon, a major transit, we talk about it, and I'm going to give you insights as to how the week is going to play out. Because we have a full moon and quite an eventful one, like I said, that will be probably the mass majority of this, and that's probably going to be the title. So if I got you on that clickbait, you're welcome. Those of you guys who have been sharing, liking, subscribing, commenting, thank you so much. We've seen so much growth on the channel, coming up almost on a year, really back consistently, and now creating more content. Hopefully you guys are digging it. The more I get support from the channel through views and also memberships or donations, the more content I can create for you. Just some new stuff if you guys are just now starting to check it out. Now I have horoscopes. So horoscopes are going to be completely separate and different from my monthly address where I talk about the energies kind of at large, and then we talk about through the horoscopes how it's going to affect each and every one of the 12 rising signs, and you guys get a tarot card, so that's kind of cool. Also, I am now putting in new educational content into the channel that's usually coming out on Thursdays. Tuesdays is more just kind of like my free flow, talking about my astro musings and my relationship with the transits and how it's kind of playing out in my life, and kind of just food for thought, how it's affecting you guys. Talked a lot about Vesta this last week. Also put out my part 2 of the Pluto return for America. If you haven't seen that, check it out. Pretty cool. Also this week, we're going to see on my podcast that I have with the Peace Dealer, the Midheaven podcast, we also kind of rapped a little bit about America's Pluto return. So if you want even more of that, check that out on Monday. That's going to be dropping. What else? Oh, and this is a new announcement for the channel. You're going to find a link below. Also, if you sign up and you're a part of my community tab and you're following my community, or if you follow me on social media, maybe you saw that I just released my new newsletter sign up link. I'm putting this purely out just for everybody. So if you want to be on the up and up with new services, offerings, but more specifically, this is being put out because I'm actually getting ready to start teaching again, and I'm going to start teaching beginners astrology. My goal is to kind of get this out sometime March. Maybe the beginning of April, just depends. I'm still working out the details of how long it's going to be, but it's going to be a closed course. So once everybody applies, we're going to close it down, and then it's going to go for several weeks' time. It's either going to be weekly or bi-weekly, still figuring that out. So give me about a week or so. I'm going to release all the details, but for right now, if you do want to click the link and sign up, you're going to be kind of first on the list to get insight as to when it's starting, where to sign up, all the specials and stuff that I'm going to be doing for that. It's going to be interactive. I'm going to do it live over Zoom. So if you want to learn one-on-one with me with a smaller class size, I'm going to have limited seats. Do consider that. Those who are kind of first on the list, it's going to be first come, first serve. So check that out. All right. Thank you for listening to me beat the drum of all of that stuff. So let's go ahead and get into the energies for this week. Now, you guys have heard me, and maybe I have like this tendency, especially if you've had readings with me or if you've heard some of my forecasts, I have a tendency to talk about stuff way before it starts happening, right? So I'm kind of trying to focus more on giving you guys bite-sized pieces so you can kind of handle what's going on right now and be more present before that stuff starts showing up. But I have to tell you that the energies this week are very much speaking to major events that are going to start playing out in March, April of 2022, as well as July and August. So be mindful, all planets are direct, yay, coming out of shadow in about 2 weeks. The Venus-Mercury retrograde shadow, I have to tell you, it's pretty fucking gnarly on the back end. Lots of things that I anticipated happening during the retrograde. It kind of trickled in, but it really didn't start kind of blowing up until the shadow. So those of you guys who are aware, we've been in a Mercury and a Venus retrograde for a little while. Venus was retrograde since December. Now it's direct, but we're still feeling those conjunctions. Right now, Venus is actually moving with Mars, so it gets us passionate, it gets us inspired. It's really sexy. It's great for working together in partnerships. However, it can also bring a little bit of conflict. Mercury is also direct now. Eventually this week, in a couple days, is going to leave Capricorn, which means he's going to leave his conjunction with Pluto. And there's been lots of intense kind of digging deep and kind of uncovering some subconscious, really intense fears, obsessive thoughts, all kinds of old conditioning patterns that we need to be aware of. So some of that stuff's going to get kicked up a little bit, guys. There's going to be quite a few aspects in this full moon that's coming. And I guess the theme would be the grand fixed cross. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, both in a sense of how it's playing out in this moon, but also we're going to talk about what that means and how it's really going to make the wheels of fate turn. All right. So today starts with February 13th with the moon in Cancer. So the moon's loving it in Cancer. It's just hanging out. I think one of the most significant aspects for today is that we're really feeling the moon and its opposition. Started late last night. It's moving through this morning and into the afternoon. The moon's been in opposition to Mars and Venus, so it's kicking up a bunch of feelings, a bunch of emotions, things that were going on subconsciously. The moon can rule things that can be a little bit either psychic, intuitive, or things that actually relate to the past. So with the moon's in opposition to Mars and Venus, it can be kicking up a bunch of feelings. And then later this evening, it's going to come into an opposition with Pluto, which is, I think, unearthing and also making us aware of like where love or where affection or where emotions are actually kind of missing. And it can make us feel like we're longing for something. So if you were kind of noticing that yesterday into today, that's a reoccurring theme. Moon opposed Pluto is going to be uncomfortable. But when we look at some of these oppositions, it can kind of feel like a standoff where there's like two separate situations, or, you know, two people on two sides of the room, or there's like actual distance to some extent. We want to look for those release points, right? So the release points are actually beautiful, super watery. The moon is making a trine to the South Node in Scorpio, releasing trauma. And the moon is also making a trine to Neptune, which is helping us kind of tune in and dissolve or remove some of these psychic, subconscious kind of ickies. So if you're feeling that yesterday and today, it's kind of expected. It is going to get a little bit easier. Now, something that we're going to see tomorrow on the 14th, we're going to watch Mercury re-enter Aquarius. So this is good. Mercury is going to come out of shadow here in about 2 weeks' time. I want you guys to know that when Mercury is sitting at about 29 degrees, there is going to be some kind of like need to have the conversation, need to make the change, need the most control, right? Like 29 of Capricorn is definitely about kind of white knuckling it through situations, and you might notice that there's just a little bit of like a sharper tone until it kind of ingresses and moves into Aquarius. So it'll happen in the afternoon of the 14th. That's going to be interesting because having so many planets in Aquarius at that point is definitely going to be more about collective energies, working with other people, thinking differently, being a little bit more committed to the hive kind of mind. And Mars and Venus is going to be continuing its conjunction in Capricorn on the 14th. So, I mean, Valentine's Day, you've got Mars and Venus conjunct. It's pretty passionate, pretty not so fun in Capricorn. It's more traditional. So it doesn't really feel like all of the loud stuff that you would usually expect, like all the teddy bears and the pictures and the diamonds and the flowers. Mars and Venus in Capricorn is like, yeah, we're going to work Valentine's Day around our schedule. Ironically, it's on a Monday, right? So a lot of people were either doing stuff probably this weekend is what I'm assuming, or they're going to be, you know, just doing something a little bit more practical because Capricorn Venus is practical. Nevertheless, that conjunction is still pretty sexy and pretty passionate. I'm liking the energy because it's still in a sextile both to Jupiter and also to Neptune. So it's about kind of productively planning towards the future, right? Commitment can be sexy this Valentine's Day. So we might see more kind of traditional courting things going on, like, you know, showing up, giving you the flowers, taking you to dinner, bringing you back home, or maybe discussing Excel spreadsheets and business plans and all kinds of stuff. Depends on where it falls in your chart. But that Mars-Venus conjunction is going to continue. Then on the 15th, we're going to see the moon moves into Leo. So this is the build up to the full moon. The moon is going to be in Leo and it's going to square Uranus and Taurus. So it's kind of like, change is coming. Not only does it create that square to Uranus, which is kind of emotional upsets, anything revolving around our security, then it's going to oppose Saturn. So Moon opposed Saturn is, how do I relate? How do I communicate? How do we work through this? Moon is super dramatic when it's in Leo. Obviously, it likes all of the drama. There can be a little bit of emotional intensity. There can be some tantrums. There can be some self-centeredness and kind of acting out. So between the square to Uranus and the opposition to Saturn, it's like, oh shit, change is coming. Expect emotional shift to hit the fan on the 15th. This is one of those moons, to be honest with you, where really we say you feel it like a day or so prior. I'm already feeling it like as of yesterday. So it's already kind of definitely building, at least for me. This leads us to the 16th, where we are going to discuss the full moon, which will be in Leo. Now, this is going to be at 28 degrees and change. It's almost 29 degrees. That's the crazy thing. It's like 28:59. So let me change this. There we go. And it's going to come in. I'll give you guys the exact time. It looks like I've got it here, 8:56. That's not right. Let me double check this. Hold on one second. I believe it's 8:56 a.m., but my software is giving me something different. Yeah, February 16th at 8:56 a.m. And that's going to be Pacific time. So if you are on Eastern time, it's going to be 11:56 a.m. Obviously, if you're overseas, just check your time zones accordingly. But regardless of when it hits, you guys are going to start feeling it sooner. You're going to start feeling it, like I said, about the day before. Okay. So what do I have to say about this moon? A lot, actually. And I want to grab the Sabian symbol because I want to talk to you guys about that as well. So when it comes to Leo, Leo is a fixed fire sign, meaning it's going to be comfortable in its way of doing things. Fire is passionate, it's creative, it burns. The fixed signs are the energies that carry on our particular season. So, you know, Leo is the dead of summer, right? So it's like the lion, the summer heat, the sun, everything about being in the sun, everything about joy and passion. It's kind of strange having a full moon that's in a lunar sign. So it's going to be a little bit more active than a typical full moon. So, being that it's ruled by the sun, aspects to the sun during this full moon, which is strange, right, is important. So usually when we look at the full moon, all the energy's on the moon. But because it's ruled by the sun, we got to look at the sun. And then we notice that the sun and the moon are actually going to square the nodes. So this is going to be a very colorful event. Every full moon, we see a buildup of energy that's intense because of the opposition between the sun and the moon, and it represents highlighting two separate axes that are different but complementary. Now, when we see the sun square the nodes of the moon, the south node is now in Scorpio, the north node is now in Taurus. When we approach a transit where there's a square, and then when it's a full moon, it's going to be really highlighted. It's basically working through resistance to create change. And this is not going to be change that's going to be easy. This is not going to be change that's necessarily going to be fun. I'm not going to candy coat it. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Fixed signs like to do things the same way, day in, day out. If you know a Taurus, or if you know a Scorpio or an Aquarius or a Leo, they're really good at just keeping the momentum. It's kind of like a drum beat, where they're the person responsible for making sure that the rhythm is kind of continued, or that the job gets done. And it's almost like a factory line. They just keep doing things the same way because that's how they know how to do it, right? So fixed signs have a tendency to want to stay in their lane. But when we have a grand fixed cross, all four sides of these particular signs are kind of at odds with each other, and it's going to feel like grinding gears. So, we're moving away from Leo energy. I know it's kind of ironic because this is a Leo full moon, but this is actually showing that all of the other aspects, the sun in Aquarius, the nodes are all actually receiving this square from the moon. And it's almost like this last like dramatic kind of blowout that happens right before we usher in this new Aquarius energy. Yes, we've been in Aquarius season pretty much all month. It's almost Pisces season, but Saturn's going to be there for quite a while. And we are also going to see still throughout this year the nodes square aspects to Saturn, especially in the spring. And we are also going to see the return of the Saturn-Uranus squares later in 2022. But, you know, the Leo energy is like, I need to be the star. It's my stage. Look at what I can do. It like reminds me of almost like a toddler or like a kid that's on stage for like a kindergarten, you know, theater type of event or whatever. I don't know. I don't have kids, but you know, like when you see the kids, they're out there, they're all performing, they're doing their own thing, and then they want to run up to you and be like, did you see what I did? Did you see it? Did you see it? It's like that kind of energy. So on one hand, it can be great for showcasing our own talents and being creative and like really kind of putting on a show. However, the sun is the ego. So one thing that we're going to be seeing that's going to be going on right around the time of the full moon is a lot of people are going to have some issues revolving around ego death. And whether or not they feel like they're the star of the show, whether or not they feel like they're important, if they're doing enough, if they're creative enough, if they're being overlooked because of all of the other energies that are relating to the nodes and also Aquarius. Where Leo is kind of the star, Aquarius is like, yeah, but there's a big world out there and everybody also is talented and we all have to share and we have to collaborate. So we're at a point of change, moving away from this Leo energy and moving more into Aquarius energy, where it's more about our collective creative projects and how we're coming together and working with people one-on-one. A grand cross is also known as a grand square. And so this, like I said, it occurs when you have 4 planets that are separated by about 90 degrees each, and they're all forming this aspect that's 2 oppositions. So you're going to see this square. So it's going to be all 4 of these particular, not planets, but placements. Now the sun is conscious, joy, creativity, and talent. Like I said, the moon is more subconscious, emotions, intuition. I think tantrums when I think Leo moon. So that's one thing that you kind of want to watch out for. And when we see this fixed square, one thing that's definitely going to come up is feeling torn between like satisfaction and self-expression. So it's, am I feeling satisfied with how I'm expressing myself? Do I feel like I'm being noticed? Do I feel like I'm being recognized? Do I feel like I'm making a contribution? Does anybody see me, right? So there can be lots of like fireworks going on during the time of this full moon. Keywords would be flexibility, tug of war, finding balance, letting go of the need to control, learning new ways, remaining open, big bursts of drama or creative energy. The rulers of the nodes, guys, are conjunct. So we've got the collective past and the collective future working together, basically saying, hey, there is a way for everybody to be a star. There's a way for everybody to play a role in what's going on. Some people are going to be talented in more areas better than others. So if you feel like you're working hard and you're trying to achieve some kind of a goal, you want to avoid comparing yourself to other people. That's one thing that I would say that's really going to get people kind of trapped in this, especially when I think of like Aquarius being like social media. So it's like looking what other people are doing, like look at their car, look at their career, look at what they're doing. They're happy, and you don't want to play the comparison game because that's going to get you really kind of stopped up into a hole and really kind of feeling like you're missing the purpose of what's going on, and you're going to make this process of some of these squares later this year a lot more challenging. The Leo moon opposes the sun, so this is going to bring up the opportunity to share, gather, join together, perform, sharing your talents with others, uniting and creating. This is an amazing opportunity to be a part of an artistic collaboration, social movements. There is a huge creative renaissance coming, and I think that this is the buildup of people being frustrated, feeling like they've been separated, they've been isolated, they haven't been able to feel a part of the group. You know, there's always a renaissance after there's some kind of oppression, right? There's always this huge wave of new music, new movies, new art, and that's all coming. So some of the friction that's coming right now is actually going to push people to go more in the direction of being more authentic, being creative, but sharing it with a group. So it's not just about Leo as the artist by themselves on stage. It's more about how do you get a group of artists together? How do you get a group of musicians together? How do you get a group of creatives together? How do you bring them together to actually create something that can change the world? So we're here to share more about our unique talents and collaborate. I want you guys to really keep that in mind, because a grand cross certainly can feel like crisis, but it's an important moment in time to clear karma. And I think that, you know, I looked at this moon probably about 3 months ago, and I was like, that's when the shit hits the fan, here we go. But I've been really trying to remind myself that replacing fear with excitement for change and holding space for that is such an important part of the process, because we don't really know how it's going to play out. We just know there's going to be fireworks, probably because there's going to be other people who are not really on board, and you're feeling the friction and the gears are turning because either certain events haven't quite set up yet, or certain people aren't quite on board yet, or they're not getting it yet. And so we are going to have some frustration, because there will be some people who are still dragging the ego behind, or they're still kind of dragging the old story behind, right? So when we see grand fixed crosses, and we will see this play out actually quite a bit in the summertime, in July and August, when planets move into Leo, we'll see this again. That is pushing us forward and asking us to create change. It's almost like, in a weird way, this is not an eclipse, but to me it feels very much like eclipse energy. And it's giving us the opportunity to be able to clear the story that we've been telling ourselves, right? So clearing karma, stepping out of old patterns, letting go of old storylines, moving away from what we've always told ourselves, what's always been the story, moving more into the direction, I think, of, okay, well, you know, this is how we move forward, right? Not just from issues from this lifetime, but past lives. So past life karma, what we've dealt with in past lives. Whenever you're dealing with squares to the nodes, it's bringing up past lives. It's bringing up where we've been in the past. So yes, we have this uncomfortable square, but the North Node and the South Node ruler are conjunct, saying if we work together, we can collectively be able to work through those old wounds, through those old patterns of not feeling worthy, not having enough, not being able to feel secure, not being able to make art, to be creative. And whatever comes from this, especially if you have some volcanic situations that happen in your life, your relationships, your job, your consciousness, whatever, as a result of this full moon, trust that it's happening to kind of really show you, you know, all of the work that really is going to need to be done over the next couple of months. These dates are important, even though they're in the future. I just wanted to make note of them. This is going to be when planets are going to cross the same degrees in Aquarius this spring. Now, when planets cross these same degrees this spring, it's going to reactivate the eclipse that we had in November. People don't really realize that astrology isn't just like new moon, full moon, new moon, full moon. It doesn't work like that. New moons take 6 months sometimes to manifest. Eclipses can take anywhere from months to years to fully play out. It can affect us for quite some time. But something that a lot of astrologers don't talk a lot about is midpoints. And I think midpoints are really important, especially in this case. This is a perfect example of midpoints. You know, the midpoint between basically the sun and the moon on each side is going to be both 26 of Taurus or so, about 27, 28, and also that of Scorpio. So you're getting kind of midpoint dings that are kind of coming up. When we see planets cross midpoints and reactivate this from an eclipse, it's going to bring something up. So we had this 27-degree eclipse in Taurus around the 3rd week of November. Events were taking place that you were committing to for your future. North Node eclipse in Taurus are things like, I am committing to stability, I'm committing to love, I'm committing to art, to financial stability, wherever Taurus is in your chart, that's where you were committing. So guess what, kids? Here is a full moon, which is then going to be followed up by some transits this spring that's going to reinforce some of the commitments that you made in November. And it's going to really say, okay, you committed to this. Now you got to make the change. So these dates are important if you want to write them down. Like I said, this is when planets are going to cross the same degrees in Aquarius, and it's going to reactivate this full moon. So March 6th through March 9th, we will see Mercury in Aquarius square the nodes. When we see planets square the nodes, it's about integration, right? We have to integrate that planet. So I'll come back and talk about that in the full moon in a second. So you're going to feel effects of this full moon again, March 6th through the 9th. When Mercury squares the nodes in Aquarius, it's about communicating. Mercury in Aquarius is how can we communicate in a way where we're sharing information freely. I have a feeling it's going to affect the internet and stuff regarding censorship and possibly politics and also Facebook and all that bullshit. but it's about how we are sharing with other people. I have Mercury square the nodes, and I have found that it's manifested for me as like learning how to just come out with stuff and communicate, and it really pushes me to communicate and kind of say what's on my mind rather than leaning on my Mercury and Scorpio and reading people's minds. It's made me kind of word vomit sometimes. So when we see this transit, you're going to have to speak up. On March 30th through April 3rd, we're going to see Venus in Aquarius square the nodes. We have to integrate and learn how to relate differently, do relationships differently, focus on the foundation of relationships being friendships, focus on relationships that are actually going to give us freedom, that are going to allow us to be friends before anything else, and having core relationships that are going to be stable and reliable and respecting each individual person's uniqueness. So relating is going to be a big theme. April 4th through April 11th, Mars will then move into Aquarius and it'll square the nodes. So Mars square the nodes in Aquarius is I need freedom. I need the ability to march to the beat of my own drum. We may react a little differently. We might see kind of social movements and things taking place. And then April 2nd through the 10th, Saturn in Aquarius will square the nodes. It's interesting that we, and that will lead to restriction, limitation, censorship. Mercury, Venus, Mars, and then Saturn all square the nodes. Mercury is, hi, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to sit down and chat about this. How can we make it work for everybody? It's going to be new thinking. It's going to be new information, probably new social media platforms, and trying to get the news out there. Venus is going to be about arts, relationships. It's going to be about how we're feeling. It's going to be about health. So we're taking information, we get passionate about it, right? We band together with other people, we talk to other people. Mars shows up and squares the nodes then, and then it's going to be about, hey, we're taking action. This is what we're doing. And then Saturn is going to kind of be the hammer that's going to come down and say, we're committing to this or we're feeling limited. Guys, everything's about to change. That's what a lot of people don't realize. Globally and also within our relationships. Everything we've been working through, where everything has kind of felt ass backwards the last 2 months, is in preparation to come into some profound change this spring. This full moon, because it is in a fixed sign, will be most intense for the fixed signs. If I were to go in order, it's going to be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius risings. You guys are going to get hit the hardest. Yes, the fixed sun and moons are also going to feel it as well. But in terms of physical change, like major life change and the wheel of the chart turning, if you are a fixed sign rising, like buckle up. Especially if you have any placements between 25 and 29 degrees of the fixed signs, because it's going to square you. Who is this going to help? Fire and air signs, because air fuels fire, especially if you have anything from 25 to 29 degrees. If this is a Leo rising or a Leo sun in the late degrees of Leo, because this is conjunct Regulus, it's definitely about putting on a show. It's about kind of activating stardom, anything revolving around showing your talent and being royal and being regal, right? Now, these squares are exactly 4 houses away or 4 signs away from the eclipse that we had in November. So you want to think back to what was happening then. It's highlighting the next step that we need to take. 4 makes me feel like more emotional, but when we look at from Taurus to Leo, it's what we've invested in, what we've committed to, what we've literally been saving money for, what we've been building. And then Leo is like, here's my creation. The Taurus energy is about fertility, and Leo energy is about children. So there's also going to be this emphasis on anything relating to children, anything relating to pregnancy, anything relating to reproductive health, anything relating to just creativity in general. So we might see more of those themes kind of playing out. And it's highlighting the next step that we need to take to work on. Now, what's interesting is whenever we see a full moon in Leo, it's about joy, creativity, showing our talents. But on one hand, we see the sun square the nodes, which means we need to do this within a group, like I said, collectively, differently. We want to think about the future of where we're going. And then when the moon squares the nodes, it's about integrating those emotions. So like I said, a lot of people I think are going to have a lot of issues kind of feeling like left behind, or that they're not necessarily playing out their dharma, or that they're not feeling like they are being creative enough, or they're getting enough of their time kind of in the sun. And I would say if you're feeling that way, work with other people. It's really going to help you move through this energy. Okay. This is both intense also because of the last new moon that we had in Aquarius 2 weeks ago. That was conjunct Saturn. That was like, nope, we got to help other people. We got to help other people. So Saturn's still beating that drum in Aquarius, reminding us where we need to work on collective goals. But it's also highlighting where we need to be doing the most work by the end of July 2022, going into August of 2022. That's when planets are going to come back into a grand fixed cross. So when we see like Sun, Mercury, Mars, Venus, whatever, actually Mars won't be there. But all the other personal planets, when they move into Leo this summer, it's going to reactivate the fixed cross. And that, in my opinion, is like, that's when we walk the plank. That's when we commit and we're like, okay, we're jumping in. This is what we're doing. Like we're full steam ahead. So if you have some challenges with this full moon, it's bringing up this focus that's like, I'm not creating enough. I'm not having enough fun. I'm not living my life's purpose. I'm not having an outlet. Like in a lot of ways, I think it's showing us where we can move more in that direction and show our personal talents. It just takes a little bit of pressure to get that motivation going. Another food for thought, once again, this is way off into the distance, but next year, we're going to see a Venus retrograde, and it's going to be in Leo, and it will actually turn retrograde in the late degrees of Leo. Thankfully, it will not square the nodes. Thankfully, it will also not square Saturn, but still it's worthy of mentioning that that's going to be another point that within the Venus retrograde cycle, we're still reevaluating, like, you know, does this make me happy? Does this bring me joy? Do I enjoy this? So it's almost like a pattern that's just going to keep unfolding for quite some time. All right. So let's look at the aspects to the moon. Let's chat about it a little bit, and then we'll get into how it's going to affect each and every one of the 12 signs. So with every full moon, we see an opposition between the sun and the moon, highlighting that polarity. Moon in Leo is going to be creative, dramatic. In opposition to the sun in Aquarius is about how we're sharing with other people. Now the sun's going to square the nodes. We talked about that. So it's collectively kind of turning the wheel. It's changing fate. So if you're really feeling like you need a change, if you're really feeling like you want to release, if you want to let go, if you want to change the story of how your life has gone, if you want to move past old karma, if you want to move past all of this stuff with the squares to Scorpio South Node, letting go of fear of not having enough, of intimacy, of security. Leo always tells us to open our heart and be open to receiving love and having fun and being playful, whether that's being open to working with your inner child, whether it's about taking on a creative project that maybe you have never really been capable of doing before. Maybe it's about dating again, maybe it's about having children. Regardless, it's asking you to really think about what's going to bring you joy. Now, Venus and Mars are still conjunct at 16 degrees. They're going to be conjunct for a little while. This is going to go on for another couple of weeks, so that's nothing new, but it does kind of add a little bit more passion into the mix. In the midst of that conjunction, we're still seeing a trine also to Uranus and Taurus. Now, we're going to lose it pretty soon, but we still have that trine, which is kind of shaking things up, changing things, new innovations in how we're dating, how we're working together, our love, our finances. But in an earthly sense, it's very stable. So it's kind of like, okay, this isn't working. How do we physically make this change? So it's less about your expression. It's more about, okay, well, you know, let's take practical ways of being able to kind of shift things and move things around. It's been stronger the last week. So like I said, we're going to start to lose it a little bit. Venus and Mars are also in a sextile to Jupiter and Neptune. So that's actually progressively, as the week goes on, going to get even stronger. I love Venus and Mars in a sextile to Jupiter. Big love, big opportunity. If you guys didn't see my video that I did about Jupiter sextile Uranus also, this is something that you guys want to take a look at because it's really going to start hitting this month, and we're going to see opportunities for sudden chances and possibly even changes of fate financially or in regards to our relationships. Then we're going to see with that sextile between Venus and Mars. So if it sextiles Jupiter, opportunities for expansion, growth in spiritual love, growth in our vision, stronger beliefs. And then also the sextile to Neptune is super dreamy, kind of whimsical. Great if you're a creative, an artistic person, if you're a painter, if you're a poet, if you're a musician. You're going to actually start kind of feeling like this passion that's coming up for you, this drive to create something or collaborate, it's going to get stronger. Listening to music, being in nature, anything like that, even working with water can be really helpful to kind of bring these energies in. I've just noticed that like having music on helps lately. Like I'm very noticing just environmentally, like having flowers, having aromatherapy, having music playing, all these kind of like Neptune, Venus things are actually kind of lubricating and helping the process of being able to let creativity or let love grow. So that might be something that's helpful for you. Mercury's back in Aquarius, but it's still conjunct Pluto. Wah, wah. It's moving further away. It's about 3-4 degrees away, but still we're feeling that conjunction. It's going to get easier as the week goes on, but it's still a part of this full moon, so there's still some kind of deep unearthing that's going on, right? And we've got Pluto that's making some aspects as well. So Pluto is in a trine to the North Node, helping us all really dig deep and create change. A lot of the issues though that we want to change have really come up the last couple of weeks, and so now we're kind of in the rebuilding process. That's going to take us really through the beginning of March, so you guys take your time with that. But one other thing I would say is that this Pluto aspect is also in a quincunx or an inconjunct to the moon. So whenever we see aspects that are a quincunx, if we look at, you know, Capricorn to Leo, the best way I can explain it is they rub each other the wrong way. They're trying to reconcile something. So this moon may bring up more issues revolving around conversations you've been having the last month about what's not working, what doesn't feel good, what we can, you know, what we can change. Unfortunately, when the moon's in Leo and when the Pluto is in Capricorn, it's almost like you take these two signs and you put them in a room and you're like, okay, have at it. The more Pluto in Capricorn is going to try to create control and kind of lock down and get rigid or kind of get obsessive or fixated, especially with the conjunction of Mercury, and go, it's not working, this isn't working, it's never going to work, you know, and it just, this never-ending thought pattern that's a loop that is going to get you stuck. It's going to quincunx the moon in Leo, and you're going to see some fireworks, you're going to see some drama. And that may come from a family member, that may come from a woman, that may come from a situation in your home. I think of like Leo. But really, Leo is going to hit back harder, and the more Capricorn acts like Capricorn, the more moon in Leo is going to have the tears, the emotions, the tantrums. If you have kids, pay attention, because you're probably going to see lots of just, you know, waterworks. Also, because Leo deals with romance and love, and it also deals with relationships, I have some concerns about this playing out around Valentine's Day, because there can be some people that feel like, oh, you know, you didn't get me, you know, all the diamonds into this, and you didn't propose, and you got me a practical gift, or, you know, it wasn't romantic enough, and it's like waterworks. And so you're going to see this friction playing out that's about how relationships really are and what the building blocks for relationships really are versus what it's all kind of made out to be in fantasy land, and expectations, I think, really kind of turning. So be aware of that. But I'm liking Pluto trine the North Node because I think that that's positive. I think it's also going to help us for just a very short period of time here still, probably for the next 2 weeks, really focus on what we need to change collectively to get to where we want to go this spring. We're going to see more of that, though, at the beginning of March, when Mars, Venus, and Pluto conjunct and they trine the North Node. So stay tuned for that. All right, that was a lot. So let's get on with the week. Let's look at the 17th, where we've got Jupiter in Pisces in a sextile with Uranus and Taurus. Watch my video. I talk about how it's going to affect all the 12 signs. This is dreamy. This is creative. This is sudden strokes of luck and opportunity. Sextiles you have to actually put energy into. You have to do the work. You have to show up. You have to work on it. You have to really focus on Jupiter in Pisces, your vision, whether that's a dream that you have, an intuitive hit that you have, some kind of belief, a profound spiritual shift. You got to be careful with Jupiter Uranus, because there can also be things that can come up where it's like, oh, I'm going to jump into this and do this. And you have to be willing to take risks. It can be big risks, big rewards that are going on right now in order to achieve what Uranus wants. So Uranus wants you to set you free. So it's like, hey, be free. Here you go. So Jupiter can come in depending on where Pisces is in your chart and go, here, this is what I have to offer you. Do you want to take this so you can create this change? So look at where Pisces is, because that's where the opportunity is coming. Look at where Taurus is. That's where the shift is coming. You want to know, watch my video. I talk about all the 12 signs. It can also be just about sudden intuitive hits, genius ideas, breakthroughs. It's interesting from Pisces to Taurus because Pisces is very much like that meditative state, the dream, the psychic you go to that tells you your future, whatever, that ultimately leads to you going, okay, I don't see this yet, but I'm going to take a risk here. I'm going to make a sudden change. I'm going to do it very quickly. And it's a very small window of time. You guys are only going to have it for about maybe 2 weeks and then you're going to lose it. And this can feel like divine timing and almost like you're speeding up the timeline. And I've seen this for all the rising signs. I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, there are things that some people have been talking about that they're like, yeah, you know, I'll move to Europe, you know, maybe in 10 years when the kids are out of the house and I've retired, or, you know, yeah, I'll finally start that passion project when I can, you know, save enough money, or, you know, yeah, we're going to have kids in 5 years. And it's going to be like, nope. A lot of people are going to realize that in the next 2 months, future and time is speeding up. And we have a small window of opportunity to jump in and go, you know what, fuck it. We're going to do it now. We have the opportunity, full steam ahead. But like I said, be cautious because Jupiter and Uranus can also be like people who are really like fanatical, especially with Jupiter and Pisces. Kind of like get rich quick schemes, or people who want to, oh, I'm going to buy all these NFTs and I'm going to spend thousands of dollars and kind of drain the bank account that we've been, you know, focusing on saving because this is going to be worth a lot of money someday. Be careful. Be careful with investing in digital art. I'm not saying that it's not going to be worthy, but literally Taurus is art with Uranus and Taurus. It's digital art, and Jupiter and Pisces can be screens. This is also stuff relating to like the metaverse and stuff. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but like Facebook is like way down. It's lost billions of dollars. Yes, there's a lot of companies getting in. I just read something about like McDonald's basically being like going in and they're buying or setting up what's going to be digital McDonald's shops and stores, so you can go into the metaverse, you can order your burger and fries and it's delivered to your house, right? So Uranus and Taurus, we're going to start seeing food companies and stuff getting involved very quickly. But I have a feeling that Facebook may actually have a lot more resistance coming. There's going to be a lot of pushback, I think, with some of the stuff that's happening, especially as it starts to kind of come out how much in bed tech is with the government. And I'll spare you the rant, but just be mindful of what you're quickly investing into, because there can be stuff that can also be scams. So watch out for that. But yeah, consider taking a leap of faith. That's the best thing I can tell you. Jupiter's exalted in Pisces. So some of you guys might be feeling like you need to sleep more, rest more, meditate more, work more with your astrology, your tarot cards, whatever it is to be able to kind of help you tap into these realms. And that's great with Jupiter and Pisces, but I would say Jupiter and Pisces is about expanding our emotions and our feelings and really paying attention to where our emotions are going, and expanding and kind of stretching ourselves, because I think that we're going to be more capable of what we are aware of. And I don't mean physically, I mean spiritually and emotionally. Okay? All right, so then on the 18th, we're going to see the sun enter Pisces. Happy Pisces season, everybody. If you are a February Pisces, happy birthday. I hope it is a good one for you. So Pisces season starts. That's pretty much it. I don't have too much other than that. It's interesting that it's also going to start with the moon in opposition to Neptune. So this is kind of like in our feelings. We're feeling things changing. These are immutable signs. We're feeling that shift. However, I'm liking the moon that's in a trine to Pluto and also the North Node. So I think that we start to kind of feel the full moon come down happening right around the 18th. On the 19th, we see the moon in Libra come into an opposition with Chiron. So some hurt feelings, some wounds. But it's in a trine to Mercury and then eventually the next day Saturn. So communication is king. We want to talk through this. We want to work with those air signs. Once we're in Pisces season, we focus a lot on where Neptune is. Some would say Jupiter. Both are in the same sign. You guys are going to find that Pisces season is going to be super spiritual. For some people, it's going to be the meltdown, the changing, the shifting, going deeper into our spiritual work, going deeper into our healing. And I'm very excited to see this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction happening this year. So I'm going to do a video on that at a later date. And then on the 20th, we're going to see the moon in Libra move into a square with Mars and Venus and Pluto. Still in a trine to Mercury. So it's a lot of like, okay, just reminding you, team effort, moon's in Libra. How can we partner better? How can we communicate? We move through this. I've told a lot of people that the closer that we get to like March and April, there's going to be a need to constantly keep reminding our partners, our boyfriends, girlfriends, husband, wives, business partners, friends, family members, hi, team effort. This is a team effort. We have to do this together. We committed to this thing. And it's important that we stick this out so we can actually see physical change. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're not getting along well with somebody and you're desperately kind of trying to find ways to communicate, or you're trying to find ways to find the common ground, sometimes just reminding each other that you're on the same team is really all that it's going to take. So you might need a little bit of that on the 19th and the 20th. And that is the end of the week. Things are going to only get more colorful in the next couple of astro videos, so stay tuned for that. I encourage you guys to be super present with this full moon, because to be honest with you, I think it has the opportunity, even if there ends up being a little bit of like a mini crisis, to kind of show you that's just like, change is the only constant, you know, change is the only constant in life. And if we're feeling the pain of feeling separate or not feeling included or not feeling like we're living out our destiny or doing what we're here to do, go and do it. Go find it. Part of the transits that have been building up for the last 2 years are to get people into positions and jobs and relationships and life situations that are their purpose. So we don't just feel like we're living paycheck to paycheck or receiving crumbs in a relationship. We're finding our purpose. We're finding our passion. We're making art. We're making love. And we're finding that things can actually be better if we let certain things go. Okay? All right, so let's read the Sabian symbol. I know it's 28, but really we round up, so it's going to be 29 degrees for that full moon. I'll put it back on the screen here for you guys. There we go. I love the Sabian symbols. If you guys have seen my channel before, you know I like to read this because it gives me insight into all the degrees and how it may manifest. I could go on and on and on about 29 degrees of Leo. Just know that it's conjunct Regulus, which is about the mark of a king. And with Regulus, we see that people can get all the way to the top, and there can be lots of honor and lots of gold and lots of success and stardom and lots of children and happiness and like regalness. But you have to watch out with Regulus, because Regulus can also be the fall of a king. So if there's too much excessiveness, if there's too much gaudiness, too much ego, too much kind of flaunting and like not really bringing things down a couple notches and leveling with other people and being humble, then it deals with the king, you know, it's kind of like off with his head, the king losing his head, going crazy, falling off of his place in society, and being kind of cast away and literally, you know, kind of going down in a not so pleasant way. Trump has Regulus on his ascendant. So if you have Regulus on an angle, you want to watch out. If you have Regulus conjunct any of your personal planets, so like 28, 29 degrees of Leo, this is going to be very eventful, and you really want to watch out for not being a team player, because it can materialize as some very big pops where you can actually have a fall from grace. Obviously, it's going to depend on a chart-by-chart basis, but that's how I've seen that play out. All right, so let's read 29 degrees of Leo. An opportunity, okay? So the keyword is opportunity. It's really called a mermaid. So it's kind of weird, right? Because it's Leo. The theme is doing what comes naturally. The theme speaks to the desire for self-fulfilling experiences. The image of a mermaid alludes to a lack of sophistication, ingenuousness, and unschooled innocence. It also suggests purity and refusal to compromise of selfhood. The emphasis is on the symbol of the feminine element, intuition, creativity, and emotion. At its highest, it represents delicacy, a delicate sensitivity to the soul's inner strings and a tendency to do what comes naturally. On the negative, you want to look for lack of self-refinement or simple crudeness. The action is on desire for experience that will help you build self-confidence and find your place in the world. You may find yourself a little gullible today. The greatest advantage lies in following your natural instincts. Trust your intuition regardless of what others may be telling you. Guard against letting yourself be seduced by flattery or talked into something too quickly. Check things out before committing yourself. Stepping stones: eager, desire, natural instincts, determination. Watch out for lack of sophistication or gullibility. It's interesting because if we were to look at 28, because you can look at both, rising above being petty. Many little birds on a limb of a large tree. The keyword is ramification. Symbol speaks to rising above crisis and the petty things in life by focusing on the aesthetic and the beautiful. Birds symbolize thoughts, communication, inspiration, spiritual and mental realms of being. Trees symbolize knowledge and protection or security. Thus, the image of many little birds on a limb suggests that learning the situation in which insights into possible consequences of hasty decisions or emotional reactions to unforeseen events may be gained through group discussion and viewing things from a higher perspective. This degree also alludes to the importance of fellowship, cheerful, lightheartedness that lifts the spirits. At its highest, it represents the ability to bring all the skills and resources together when opportunity arises, effectively capitalizing on the moment. Watch out for gossip, delight in creating confusion and problems in order to take credit for solving them. The accent is on seeing things from a higher perspective, talking things over with others. I see both of these really applying, you know? You're going to see a lot of ego shit going on with this full moon. A lot of people who are just going to be in their tantrums and be like, it's not all about me. And guess what? It's not all about them. It's about everybody else. So in order to get to where we want to go from this new moon, we have to work collectively with other people and really show off our own personal talents so we can actually create together. Take the opportunity to make the change, guys. That's my advice for you, because the transits are only going to get more intense in March and April. If you guys think 2020 and 2021 was intense, 2022 is like, here, hold my beer. All right, so let's see how it's going to affect each and every one of the 12 signs. Listen for your rising, your sun, and your moon. People are like, what about my progress chart? Sure, if you resonate with your progress chart, you can listen to that. But for what's physically going to happen for my predictions, you want to read your ascendant. And the sun is going to be helpful, but it's also going to be more relating to ego. So just watch out for that. And then the moon is how things affect you emotionally. All right, so we're going to start off with Aries and Aries rising. This full moon's taking place in your 5th house. A great opportunity for creativity, great opportunity for spending time with kids, friends, romance, desire. The lesson here is that you're going to see this full moon square the 2nd and 8th house where the nodes are. And it's going to be opposing the 11th house sun. Now, one thing that I really want to reiterate is something that I said earlier in my notes. Let me bring this up. Where is this? In regards to fixed squares and how things are going to feel. Where is this? Where is it? Basically, when you're dealing with fixed squares, what this is going to do, especially for you, is this back and forth revolving around creativity and self-expression and whether or not you feel fulfilled, and whether that's financially fulfilled, emotionally fulfilled, what have you. There can be some issues revolving around that. A lot of what I've been talking about relates to you because I'm speaking in generalities in terms of Aries rising. But you may feel like, hey, I want to put something out there. I want to create something. I don't know if I feel like I have support. You know, I'm taking a risk. I'm taking a chance. Am I going to be able to make money off of this endeavor? Am I going to feel well received from other people? Is it going to make me feel good? Am I going to feel valuable because of what I am putting out there and this contribution that I'm making? So it's going to be colorful for you. Thankfully, because Aries is a sister sign of Leo, it does help you. So it is going to be positively aspecting either your sun, moon, or rising, and you are going to see actual change start happening. So it might be a time when you're like, here's my Etsy shop. You know, I'm pregnant, or I'm throwing a party, like whatever it is that you're doing, somehow it's not just about you. You need to bring other people in on this because it's really highlighting your 11th house. 2 Two of Swords. You may feel like you're at a turning point right now where it's like, do I do this or do I not do this? Do I launch this or do I not launch this? Maybe stuck in making a decision. I think of like, you know, textbook traditional stuff is like full moon in your 5th house. Okay, you're pregnant. And you're in a situation where you're like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. What do I do? You know, this is going to, you know, be more in terms of resources. I'm really focusing on working. Do I have the support of a partner? Do I have insurance? Is this the best time? That's just kind of bare bones. But it can also be situations like, I really want to put more into this hobby. I feel like it could actually turn into something that could be a side hustle. Many of you Aries are going through a career breakup right now. God bless you. Good luck. But the breakdown is before the breakthrough. And so something about the aspects between Capricorn and your 5th house is, what is going to make your heart sing? Is it quitting your job to have a kid? Is it launching your side hustle and breaking away from your full-time routine because this is what you're really passionate about? Seems you're like a little stressed, revolving around if it's really going to financially show up and if you're going to feel supported. And I would say, take a deep breath, think everything through. Maybe you need 2 days, 2 weeks to process it, make a decision before you make a leap of faith. But with a chart like yours, you're going to keep feeling this pressure to make a move. And if you don't make the move, then you're going to still find yourself in the same situation. What I love about a fixed cross, and I don't love a fixed cross at all, crosses are better than T-squares, guys, okay? If you have a T-square, you've got a missing leg of the table missing, and it's just a fucking nightmare. A fixed cross is basically saying whether you're kicking or screaming or going willingly, everything is going to change. So take this opportunity, Aries. Really be willing to take a leap of faith, take a jump, make being creative, feeling abundant, feeling artistic, feeling fulfilled, really showing your talents the top priority. More important, more than anything else, than numbers in a bank account. I know we live in the 3rd dimension, but you gotta take the risk, boo-boo. All right, so Taurus and Taurus rising. I put an asterisk next to you because you are one of the people who are going to feel this very intensely, so please listen up. You are experiencing a full moon in your 4th house. This is very much about your home and your family. Anything relating to where you're living, who you're living with, things relating to property, real estate, home, stuff like that. It can be about how you're feeling about your creative projects. So it can be like, you know, there's a big party going on at home. You have to put on this big production. There's a bunch of kids in your house. That's possible. It can also be about big changes going on within your physical home or your emotions or your family. Maybe you're having a kid. Maybe you've got too many kids. Maybe you want to expand your family, so you're deciding to move. Maybe you need more creative space in your home, so there's something that's going to go on there. But a full moon that is going to be squaring everything in your chart is going to be like fireworks. So people can move in, people can move out. There can also be decisions about selling homes or making some kind of alteration to your physical home space. This is going to be squaring the nodes in your 1st and your 7th house. So the 1st house has the North Node right now, so it's what you want, what you need. You've got the South Node in your 7th house, which means you're clearing out all kinds of like karma relating to relationships, karma relating to marital partners, business partners. The 4th house also has to do with the past. So for some Tauruses this month, as a result of this full moon, you can feel like, oh my God, this is deja vu. Like I've been here before. I've been in this situation. There can be situations in relationships that trigger you, that make you feel like it's bringing back ghosts of exes and you're dealing with that kind of trauma from that. It can also feel like you're having a really hard time giving up and really letting go of your past or your childhood, right? When you have Leo in the 4th. So some Tauruses are experiencing, because of trauma in their past with who they've lived with or their family, it's playing out in relationships. Unfortunately, this is also going to be opposing the sun that's in your 10th house of career. So it's actually saying to you, when it comes to what's happening within your home and your family, in order to keep the peace in relationships, you have to let the past go. You have to focus right now with this full moon on what's going to be best for your home and for your family. Whether that's your roommates, your parents, your kids, whatever, your emotional health, you have to deal with that if you want to be able to reach some of the heights that you want to reach in terms of your career. So pay attention to that. This is going to be quite intense for you. It's probably going to be the most intense for you and Scorpio rising, to be honest with you. So pay attention. Strength. What did I just say? It's all about Leo, the Strength card. So One thing that you may not realize, Taurus, is that this is about family. This is about the family that you're creating. This is about the family that you have. This is about nurturing situations, not trying to force situations. This is about being more vulnerable, being more lovable. It literally can be about children. So there can be some things that are going on, either relating to your childhood or some kind of conflict you're having about children or a love affair or a creative project. And what I love about the Strength card is that it's about nurturing. It's not about strangling. It's not about putting the cat in the cage. It's not about treating it like a wild animal. It can be something that you're afraid of. And one thing that I think you would really benefit right now is creating space and allowing creativity to come in. And sometimes that's taking a step back from work, spending time with your family. Sometimes that's about kind of shifting gears and not making it all about your career. Sometimes making it about what you're doing in the home and the life that you're building, right? So that's something that I really want you to think about. If you allow this to come in, you may find that the South Node in Scorpio in your 7th house can actually be releasing old karma in regards to relationships and like allowing people to come in and help you feel supported. All right, so we've got Gemini and Gemini rising. This is a full moon in your 3rd house. It's going to aspect your chart pretty nicely with the sextile, so you should dig that. A full moon in your 3rd house is going to be like stuff involving vehicles, contracts, negotiations, maybe going out of town for the weekend, talking more to siblings or to a neighbor. This is going to make aspects though, where it's going to be squaring the nodes, and that will be in your 12th and your 6th house. So the North Node's in your 12th house, the South Node's in your 6th house. Watching a square here happen tells me that you may be a little mentally stressed. You may be having some anxiety revolving around having a conversation with someone. This is opposing the Sun in the 9th house, so it's about a crisis of faith and beliefs. You may be stressed out having to have a conversation about travel. There can be travel changes out of your control. It can really affect far distance travel and also current travel. Having this full moon in your 3rd is like you actually have to have a change in something you're setting up or something you're reserving. It can be a little bit dramatic. There can be this shift also and this emotional or mental kind of release. You might find that journaling is really helpful, or just finally having a conversation that you've been anxious to have and clearing the air. Being that it's going to oppose the Sun in your 9th house, I think it's also about the bigger picture. So it's about not getting so stressed out about where life is going. It's about, in order to get there, we need to make the changes right now. We need to communicate more. We need to learn something. It can be about integrating a new software, a language, having to fix your car, things like that. And these things are important because it's actually going to release stress, and it's going to allow you to kind of go through your day without feeling as kind of banged up. You know, it's about making your schedule lighter, making it easier. I think of the North Node moving through your 12th, and it's about feeling more stable kind of mentally and kind of having peace or having your private space. And the South Node going through your 6th house, where you're letting go of bad habits, maybe learning breath work or writing exercises, going for a walk can really help you if you get stressed out from this full moon. This is the card that jumped out, 9 of Swords, not surprised. Kind of mentally stressed, feeling stuck. Excuse me, this is the 8 of Swords. Feeling mentally stressed and feeling stuck. But this card talks about being mentally stuck. If she takes the blindfold off, she can realize she's not really stuck. She can get out of the situation. She can go where she wants to go. So 8s always kind of deal with trauma or addiction, or where we kind of get stopped up in old patterns and we're not able to break out. It can also represent stuff that's going on karmically, big time, with the 12th house North Node and the South Node in your 6th house. It's time to let go of bad habits. So if you're dealing with a drug problem, if you can't stop smoking cigarettes, if you're eating all the candy, whatever is going on right now, especially think of like the South Node in your 6th house, if you're dealing with health problems, or if you're dealing with like sexual addiction or anything like that, there's something going on that's being worked out for you right now, so you can have healthier ways of being, so you're not compartmentalizing your life and like hiding this and like not actually clearing it out and dealing with it, you know? For Cancer and Cancer rising, this is a full moon in your 2nd house of money and resources. So that's positive. It can be a time where there's breakthroughs in regards to funding, bringing more money in, feeling really good about your resources. The challenge here, Cancer, is that it is squaring the North Node in your 11th house and the South Node in your 5th house. So to me, it feels like you may be like, yeah, money's coming in, but it's going towards my kids. Yes, money's coming in, but it's funding this project. And a full moon can be about when a check hits the bank. It can be about a payoff. It can be about a major purchase. Maybe you are investing something in a passion project that you are doing with a friend. I think of like the North Node in your 11th house. You can reach a financial goal, especially with the nodes square. And I think it's giving you the opportunity to move further towards your destiny when it comes to feeling more aligned and fulfilled creatively. Now, yes, I know that you also have Saturn that's hanging out in your 8th house and the sun that's in your 8th house. So it can be like money in, money out. I get a bonus and then I got to pay my taxes. Something like that, or maybe your partner's getting on your case about how much money you're spending, or you're going out and spending a little too much money, having fun. I would say a full moon in your 2nd house is treat yourself, but don't break the bank, Cancer. Realize that this is about being rich in experiences. This is about learning to do with less. This is about joint resources. Be careful when it comes to money and friendships. That's my issue. There can be a little bit too much of you covering expenses for a friend, loaning or borrowing, which can create some drama. Maybe you loan something to somebody and you're like, look, my partner's on my case. I really need that money back. And be careful when it comes to stuff involving investments in the markets, because I'm looking at the square between the 5th house where you have the South Node and Saturn in the 8th. It can represent losses, okay? Losses in general. Ace of Swords. Having conversations, speaking up, speaking the truth. This is Saturn that's in your 8th house. This is the sun that's in your 8th house. That's just like, yes, money is coming in, but we really need to negotiate deals. We need to communicate and talk about our financial goals. Come up with a plan, have the chat, write it out on paper. If you are negotiating some kind of a deal, selling something, selling a project, maybe you're working on it with a partner, you need to have this in writing, okay? There needs to be something in writing that stipulates, yes, I'm gonna get that percent, or, oh, I'm borrowing this money. Yes, I'll pay it back by that period of time. Something like this is coming up that's initiating, saying it's time to have the chat. Mercury is coming into your 8th house, so it's a great time for negotiations and really drawing a hard line with what you need to feel secure. All right, Leo, it is your moon. I can just imagine like a bunch of Leos just like burning the house down with this moon. You're probably going to be there with Scorpio risings, to be honest with you. So this is a full moon in your sign. So it's a wonderful time to just be you. Just be you, hopelessly and gloriously, unapologetically you. This is the time that I'm going to say, it's okay, you can do it. You're going to get your time to shine in another 6 months when it comes into your birthday time. But a full moon in your sign or on your ascendant is really bringing up the theme of what makes you happy. What do you want? And I got to tell you guys something. It's going to piss some people off in the process, all right? So just acknowledge that, accept that. You can't make everybody happy. It is what it is. You're having this full moon in your 1st house. It's squaring your 4th house where the South Node is. It's squaring your 10th house where the North Node is. And it's also going to start rubbing up on Saturn in your 7th house pretty soon. Welcome to the Grand Fixed Cross, Leo. This tells me that you may be responsible for orchestrating big change. Maybe you have a brand new hairdo. Maybe you decide that how you want to live your life, where you want to be, is very different than where you've been living or where you've been working. I could definitely see change where you're taking space from partners, you're making a shift and you're following your career goals, you're following your heart, you're listening to what's best for you, even if that means you got to do it alone. And it's going to square the South Node in your 4th house, which means you're saying goodbye to bad feelings, goodbye to shitty family members, bad roommates, old living situations. It's like everything's new. This is the turning point. Stick to your guns is the best advice I can give you. Don't try to add fuel to the fire. Don't create the drama, okay? But be super present. Remember, the moon's in your sign. So you're going to feel emotional. It's going to be like, oh my God, this is all changing. I'm emotional that I'm quitting my job and moving away. But it's also meant to make you feel more fulfilled. Now, you might get some pushback from a partner. You might get some pushback from your family. You might get some pushback from work. But this is making the wheel of your chart turn. And it's really making all 4 areas of your life shift. This is the card that came up. Ace of Wands. I love it. new passionate creative endeavors, feeling it's almost like striking the match and being like, okay, cool, I'm burning these bridges. It's time to move. It's also time to initiate new creative projects. It's a time to feel passionate, to listen to your inner desires. You can be super, super forward with your feelings and your emotions right now. And I would say just be mindful that you can come on a little strong and it can be a little intense for some people. But at the same time, I think it's really good for you because, like, of all of the signs, Leo placements are just, they're extra. And like, that's what I love about Leo. I was South Node in Leo. I love the extraness. I love the fact that it's all glitz and glamour and it's about kind of being your own hype man. So if you feel like other people are kind of getting you down or pushing back, don't listen, just stay the path ahead and focus on your passion. For Virgo and Virgo rising, we got a full moon happening in your 12th house. It might make you feel a little nutty, so prepare. This is like the final hoorah, the goodbye to all of the heartbreak, the challenges that you've been going through recently in regards to ghosts of ex past. You've had a Venus retrograde in your 5th. You're going to see that this full moon is in your 12th house, which is about a cosmic karmic clearing, especially in regards to where you've been in your head a lot, where you have been hiding out a little bit. There can be some definitive moments in regards to relationships or issues in regards to fear with children, love, or your childhood. Now, this particular full moon is going to square the North Node in your 9th house of the bigger picture, where you're going, where you're traveling, what you're learning. It's also squaring the South Node that's in your 3rd house of communication. I have a feeling that this is about you realizing that you need new patterns and you can't sit around and drive yourself crazy thinking about what somebody else is doing or where they went or why they're not talking to you. It's about kind of shifting and kind of changing things around when it comes to your daily routine because it's opposing the sun in the 6th house. I've seen so many Virgos and so many Virgo risings. I had my live yesterday. It was like almost everybody was a Virgo or a Virgo rising or a Pisces rising. You guys really want to ask yourself, how much time and energy are you giving to obsessing over things in the past? What didn't happen? What hurt? What went wrong? Like everything that's going on right now is dealing with the heart space, clearing that out, and really being able to make the most of your time and being more efficient. So a full moon in the 12th house is very spiritual. It's going to have you, like I said, a little wackadoodle. You might feel like hiding out and being emotional, crying, watching TV, you know, just doing your thing. That's okay, but it's showing you where you can't hide forever. And it's trying to push you into some kind of regular spiritual routine. Meditation, reflection, yoga, traveling, learning more about philosophy. Watch out for like all the conspiracy theory stuff. Virgo and Virgo rising, there can be a lot of that going on. Be careful with the nodes, with the squares to your 3rd and 9th house. It's about, you know, the information you get and what you believe in and how you start integrating that into your daily life or even your health. So just be mindful of that. 4 of Cups. You can't cry about people who or situations that have moved on, okay? Because there can be a sense of you being a little too comfortable being like, well, this didn't work out for me and that didn't work out for me. And this didn't play out for me, and they moved on, and they're happy, and they got the job, but I didn't get the job. There's a little bit of you being too comfortable being in that space. And if you've been in that space for a while, where you've been pouting, or you haven't been wanting to participate in life, it's time to move on. You know, what I love about this card is you see that even though there's 3 of Cups in front of him, he's got his arms crossed, he's kind of like pouting because he feels like he's not fulfilled. He doesn't see the Ace of Cups that's being handed to him in the background. The Ace of Cups is new love. So it's basically saying there's a new love, there's a new passion, there's a new endeavor, there's a new opportunity, there's new emotions, there's healing, probably a better relationship or a more fulfilling relationship that's on just the other side of the horizon when you get past this. When you do decide that you want to participate again. Because if you're getting caught up in the feelings of what you're not getting and you're pouting, 4 of Cups, there can be a sense of you kind of, you know, finally having that breakdown before you have the breakthrough. There can be huge shifts involving also finding out that there might be somebody who equally is fixated on you, but you just don't see it. So there can be love, spiritual love, admirers, stuff like that in the distance. So watch for that. For Libra and Libra rising, this is a full moon in your 11th house, which is going to highlight friends, networking, your goals, associations. It's a wonderful time to network, join a group, share something with a group of people, hang out with friends, go to a party. The challenge is that it's going to be opposing the sun in your 5th house, which is things like, you know, Saturn's there. So it's like, yeah, I'd love to go and party, but I'm working on this. I'm really dedicated to this project, or I have a kid. I can't drink. I'm pregnant type stuff. Perhaps maybe with the squares to the 2nd and the 8th house, it's also some kind of friction that's building right now for you revolving around happiness and resources, right? The 11th house full moon is going to be celebrating with other people, and it's a time to put the spotlight on other people. It's kind of backwards for Libra and Libra risings. You guys have to learn the life of balance, but having Leo in your 11th is showing your talents with a group, or maybe showing people what you've been working on, and you might receive a lot of support at the time of doing so. I'm looking at the square though to the south node in your 2nd and the north node in your 8th, and it tells me that you're here to receive right now. You're here to receive appreciation. You're here to receive support. There can be a sense of you taking what you've been building and sharing it not just with other people, but with a partner, so a business partner or romantic partner, and kind of merging and bringing in more resources from some of your accomplishments. And while that sounds great, the opposition that it's actually making to your 5th house is you really want to watch for being hard on yourself, or feeling like you're not good enough, or not loving yourself, or not being appreciative of yourself. The next couple weeks, it's going to be a huge emphasis on just what makes you happy and standing out in the crowd. So it's important for you to see yourself as somebody who kind of through the eyes of other people, how other people see you, you know? All right, so let's see the card that comes up for Libra. Ace of Swords. Again, it's interesting. I came up with another card, Page of Pentacles. So have the conversation, release the project, talk about it, communicate, get all the ideas out there. I think with the the Ace of Pentacles, the Page of Pentacles having come up with this card, it's also saying like, starting to initiate conversations about what it is that you've been working on and what it is you want to sell, or what it is that you want to receive. It's the beginning process of starting to focus more on investment goals, career goals, anything like that, and starting to actually see stuff coming in, but it's the beginning process. There can be important conversations and also contracts that come as a result of this. Speak out, share. That's the best thing I can tell you with the Ace of Swords coming up for you, okay? For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, so you have an asterisk, so just prepare. You're going to be one of the people who's going to get hit pretty hard from this full moon. It's going to be rather intense like the rest of the fixed signs. You have a full moon that's happening in your 10th house of career. So a full moon in your 10th house of career is just in itself is a time where some of you guys will be graduating and moving on from some career aspects to greener pastures. Some of you guys are going to be presenting something or launching something that's going to be pretty significant, and it's going to be like this peak moment. You've been working hard at this really since about summer of last year. So you want to think about what you were working on in July and August of 2021. Having this full moon in your 10th house that is in a very tight square to the south node in your 1st and the north node in your 7th tells me where you're struggling and where you're having issues is being a team player. Now, the south node in your 1st house is about letting go of your ego, letting go of your old identity, letting go of how you used to look, the fact that you had to do everything on your own, the fact that you had to struggle, and being open and open to receive the north node in your 7th house, which is partnering with people, working with a partner, working with a spouse, possibly being able to make money in a partnership. And to me, it kind of seems like with Saturn in your 4th house, it's having a hard time reconciling and dealing with the past. There can be a sense of you being like, okay, things have always been this way. And you're kind of working your way out of like old habits in terms of how you communicate and how you think. So having this grand fixed cross in your 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th is going to make the wheel of your chart turn. And it's putting all of the emphasis in your 10th house. That's like, if you don't love your job, break up with it. If you're not enjoying it, end it. You may see that there's lots of support coming actually from Saturn in your 4th, where, to be honest with you, Scorpio and Scorpio rising, it's not really about your career right now. It's not. It's more about what's going on with your 4th house. Where's your family? Are you getting married? Are you having kids? Are you buying houses? Do you need to get involved in property and real estate? Is it time to build a home business? Is it time for you to focus more on your emotional security? Do you have to take care of a parent? You know, any of these things can happen with Saturn. But the square from this full moon is basically saying, if you feel like it's been heavy lifting and it's time to let go, let it go. Lean more on Saturn in your 4th house. Focus on your emotions. Focus on your home base, what you're building. Because Saturn at the 4th is basically setting the foundation for all of your career goals for the next 14 years. And look at what's going on with your relationships and your partnerships. This can bring up lots of stress in your relationships because you're not being a team player, or you're not seeing that there are people there to help you, and you can get where you want to go, and you can have a lot of success in your career. But specifically because it's making aspects to the nodes in your 7th, it's something about working in a partnership. So remain open, realize that it doesn't have to be heavy lifting. You got Jupiter that's in your 5th house. So it's a wonderful time for being creative, focusing on the creative process, working with design or art or music. And you have a lot of support with the sextiles to Uranus in your 7th right now. You will be one of the signs that I think is going to have a difficult time. You and Taurus are probably going to have the most challenging time. So hang tight and remain open, and whatever kind of shifts for you is shifting so you can go deeper into your North Node and also facilitate what you want with Leo on your midheaven, which is, believe it or not just being creative, but it's about having a family. 2 of Swords jumped out. This has come up twice. I think this actually came up for Aries, right? So 2 of Swords is feeling stressed, being torn. Do I do this or do I do that? Do I go left or do I go right? What do I decide? It's almost like if you have so much stress going on and you're feeling like you're torn, sometimes taking a step back is the answer before jumping into something and making a decision. Scorpio, be careful, because this full moon is direct on your midheaven, right? It's happening in your 10th house. So this is basically whatever decision you make is actually going to affect the future, also pertaining to your career, your love life, your creative process. If you do need to break up with something to let something else in, do it, but take your time, kind of coming off the Sabian symbols. There can be a sense of you making a hasty decision, and if you do that too quickly, there can be some strife down the road, especially when it comes to your home life. So be careful. For Sag and Sag rising, this is a full moon in your 9th house, and that is a sister sign. So it is definitely a little bit easier than I think some of the other signs. Your 9th house deals with travel, education, teaching, learning, philosophy, art and art theory in general, because Leo is in your 9th. It can be a time when you're planning a passion trip. You're like, I really want to go to this city to see this museum. It can be a time where you're taking an art class, you're booking a course, maybe you're teaching something, you have to travel somewhere and teach somebody to some extent. It also deals with law and legality and your beliefs. Now, this full moon is going to be squaring the south node that's in your 12th house, Scorpio, so you're clearing out some kind of subconscious karma from the past. It's also going to be squaring the north node in your 6th house. So to me, it seems like you have a lot of work on your plate, and you know that you have a lot to get done. But at the same time, you're exhausted. You've been working a lot. You've been under a lot of mental stress. You're like, I know I have a lot to do. My schedule is kind of crazy, but the world is starting to open up and I need to get on a plane. So I'm guessing that this is going to more materialize as you kind of being a little impulsive and being like, I got to go somewhere. I know that I've got responsibilities. I know that I've got work or I've got things happening, but I'm really prioritizing my mental health. And in order to do that, I need to break away and I need to do something that's fun. So be mindful that there can be conflicts with work. This is a lot of like, Sag has a habit of being like, I'm going to buy the airplane tickets, but I haven't taken work off yet, right? And kind of scrambling to figure out how you can find somebody to fill your space, or trying to find someone to watch the animals, because the 6th house can be pets. There can also be this sense of you just really feeling like you're mentally at a breaking point, and especially when it comes to just all the stuff that's been going on with either resources or money lately, it may not make sense, but you really need this break. Now it's opposing the sun in the 3rd house. So many of you guys want to go on a faraway trip, but you're on like a weekend budget. So be mindful of also that It may not be about actually going away for a week. It's doing something close by or consistently having kind of time away on the weekends every now and then. So you're not getting into these funks of long periods of time of not having fun, right? Three of Wands. Looks like you made up your mind and you're going. So whether this is like, okay, I can't have the big trip now. Some of you will because you've been planning this for months at a time, or maybe you're like, okay, now that the world is open, I'm going to do it. So it seems to me that you're committed to whatever you're focusing on or working on, and you're taking the next steps ahead. This can also be about some new kind of training that you're going through, or maybe you're a teacher. So it's like, okay, I'm going to progress in what I know. I'm going to expand my knowledge, and I'm really open and curious about learning more or exploring more. Three of Wands is not just about kind of standing there and making the decision. It's about being already on your way. So some of you guys, by the time you see this, you're like, I already bought the tickets. I'm out. So have fun. I hope you enjoy that. Hopefully you have somebody to cover your shift, or you enjoy that mental break that you get. For Cap and Cap rising, this is going to be happening in your 8th house. And so the 8th house is a spooky house. It deals with the subconscious. It deals with psychology. It deals with joint resources, sex, other people. A full moon in your 8th house can definitely have you feeling all in your feelings, okay? It is expected, so just expect it. On the flip side, being that it's in Leo, it can be super sexy, and it can be about just like partying hard like a rock star. I have to tell you, I know Capricorns work hard, but I'm pretty sure nobody parties harder than a Capricorn either, because when they let it out, they let it all out. And you want to watch out for partying a little too hard with this full moon, because you're going to see squares to the north and the south node, which are going to be collectively in your 5th and in your 11th. So the 5th house north node with Uranus is like, I want to party hard. I want to have a good time. I want to cut loose. I want to be creative. I want to have sex. I want to have fun. The south node in your 11th house is this feeling that there is like a clearing out going on, either of your friendships or your goals. So some of you guys might feel like, you know, all your friends are MIA, they're gone. It's how you're adapting to that change. It's also how you're adapting to the fact that your goals are changing. And a full moon in your 8th house, it can bring up some bad habits, some sexual habits, some drug habits, some partying habits, some kind of unsavory relationship patterns, some hookups and things that can have you being or feeling unfulfilled. So Cap, really hear me on this. Take it easy with this full moon. It's opposing the sun in the 2nd house, which means you can go balls to the wall buying something because you think it's going to make you feel better, binging on food, binging on, you know, drinking, drugs, whatever. And at the end of the day, it can have you feeling a little empty inside. So be cautious. Realize that this full moon is happening as a purging and a clearing and a detoxification of what? Your heart. So there can be lots of creative, expressive energy that comes out. Likely with the sun in your 2nd house, it feels kind of stuck in your body. So I would say focus more on detoxing or being creative, or art therapy, tantra, yoga, kundalini work as a means to getting this out of your system, because it's a lot of creative sexual energies when you see the square from the 8th to the 5th. The 8th wants to merge. The 5th just wants to have sex and have fun. So this isn't just about having sex or partnering or being in love or even having fun. It's about being creative and having a purpose for that creativity and having an outlet for it as well. Card that you get is 2 of Cups. So good news is it's great when it comes to your love life and your relationships. How ironic, right? Squaring the North Node in your 5th. Many Cap and Cap risings are going to fall in love, meet people, get pregnant, have babies, meet the love of their life, find a hobby that really kind of inspires them, opens them up, and makes them realize what their purpose is. So people are going to come in that are going to help you with this process. If you have the potential for a date, go. If you have the opportunity to collaborate with somebody, do it. There are people who are going to want to work with you, but this is also about you opening up and being vulnerable. And not a lot of people realize Caps have a difficult time with that because Leo's in the 8th house, and there's this fear of tapping into your passion, tapping into your drama, tapping into your creative energy. It's not always about being that stoic kind of sign that has it all together. Sometimes it's about experiencing a little bit of drama and love and romance. So take that into consideration. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, you get an asterisk, which means hold on to your shorts. This is going to be a doozy for you because this is a full moon happening in your 7th house of relationships. Now, certainly relationships have been an interesting topic for you because there has been a lot changing with you personally. You've experienced a lot of independence, a real focus on independence. Equally, you've been having Uranus, which has been in your 4th house, kind of making your home life a bit active or chaotic. So you're really going to be feeling this fixed square. You've got the North Node that's going through your 4th house right now, helping you focus on home and family. The South Node's going through your 10th house, so you're clearing out old responsibilities. You're clearing out old career and title expectations. And it looks to me like the full moon in your 7th house is really pushing things along because there may be some definitive decisions going on right now in relationships, makeups, breakups, getting married, separating, calling it off, getting engaged. These things are the kind of things that are going to start happening for you as a result of this full moon. In turn, it will affect your status in the world. In turn, it's also going to affect where you're living. You may feel like you're kind of lost out at sea, okay? You have got Saturn in your 1st house, so you kind of need more boundaries, more time to yourself. You might be a little fed up with your career and you're focusing on how you want to feel and where you want to live. So it's almost like dealing with the relationships and where you stand with other people. It may not necessarily be all romantic relationships, can be friends, is kind of the missing piece to help you better decide what actions you're going to be taking in the weeks ahead. So I've seen a lot of Aquariuses that are like, if we can't make this work, I am literally fleeing the country. Okay, Jupiter's in your 2nd house. I'm going somewhere else. Or I'm going to be alone, or I'm going to, you know, move somewhere else, start a new job, change my identity. I don't know. Aquariuses are like really, really, really fed up, and they're realizing that they have to honor themselves. So you're going to see some sparks with relationships. It's not all doom and gloom. A full moon in Leo hanging out for you in your 7th house, and Mars and Venus being in your 12th can be this super holy shit relationship that took you off guard. You fell in love with somebody overseas. You have this deep emotional connection. You realize that you finally need to either take the jump or cut the person off so you can come into the life that you want. So it's positive, but it's opposing your sun in the 1st. So unfortunately, Aquarius, it's not about you. It's about other people. 4 of Cups. Kind of feeling left in the dark. You're hanging out with Virgo. It's like, what about me? What about you? Your partners are going to act super wackadoodle because of this full moon. Soon we're going to see Mars and Venus go into your sign. Mercury's on your sign, so you have a lot to say. I think this is about you maybe having a hard time sharing the spotlight with other people. Maybe this is going to be about you having a difficult time allowing yourself to give energy or pay a lot of attention to your partner. You want to be careful for this because it's just a moment in time where you're experiencing this. Realize Saturn making transits to your sun is affecting your relationship with other people. So it can be saying if you're too closed off, if you're not warm, if you're not open, if you're not willing to collaborate or merge. That can also be what's affecting your relationship. Saturn rules, right? Your natal 12th house. So Saturn on your sun can be saying your emotions, your issues possibly with depression, isolation, wanting to be alone, being kind of doom and gloom. That behavior can be setting you aside from other people. Your unwillingness to settle, or the fact that you want your privacy, or that you like to kind of be the Lone Ranger. You can get a lot of reaction from Leo in your 7th house with people that are like, you're not letting me in. Why are you telling me what's going on? Why do you disappear? So if you're hearing that, try to take the constructive criticism, and it can actually help you grow closer in relationships in the next weeks to come, or give you the momentum to just move on. But don't miss out on what is there, because like I said with the 4 of Cups, there is an ace in the background. There's somebody offering you partnership. You don't have to be alone. Last but not least, we have Pisces. This is a full moon happening in your 6th house of health and wellness. Also routine, getting things done, getting assistance. A full moon here can trigger, and it can bring up issues relating to your schedule, issues relating to launches with creative projects, separations, breakups, because it's 12th from your 7th. It can also bring about issues in regards to health. Specifically heart-related stuff, stuff relating to your digestion. You really want to pay attention to that, and injuries in general. So be careful with a full moon here. It is squaring the north and south node. So the south node's in Scorpio in your 3rd house, which means you got to watch your words, how you communicate. and let go of old thought patterning. And you've got a North Node now in Taurus in your 9th, which is about learning, exploring, and traveling. To me, this is like, how can I work my schedule or my job or things in a way that gives me more freedom so I can travel more freely, so I can relocate, so I can take a new course, so I can learn something. Likely you're planning this more so for the spring. It's opposing your sun right now, or the sun, excuse me, in Aquarius in your 12th house. Pisces, this is the cosmic clearing that happens a month before your birthday. Welcome to the shit show. This is definitely going to be pretty colorful right before you come into your birthday. Can feel like a little chaotic and that there's some meltdown things going on. You got Jupiter, Neptune on your ascendant, so you're divinely directed. You're very much connected to spirit. It's about your intuition. It's about your beliefs. So when you find yourself spiraling, pay attention to that. Now the planets are ingressing into Pisces. You might feel either more creative, dreamy, and psychic, or like everything's coming crashing down. It's the end of the world. Meltdown city. You're sick. You're trying to like get rid of and purge all of these things, change your health and your diet. Likely because of the opposition to the sun in your 12th. If you do experience any health-related issues, it's connected to low energy levels because you've just been not taking care of your energy, or you've been stressed out. Maybe there's been some friend breakups recently because you've had a lot of planets in Aquarius in your 12th, and it's kind of making you feel like, what the heck? Where's my support system? Regardless, take care of your health, focus on your routine, realize there's going to be some stress to your 3rd and your 9th house, which revolves around scheduling. And I would advise you that if you are in a position of trying to create more time for creativity in your daily routine, for passion, for being able to date, for being able to work through old breakup issues, for being able to also just collaborate and be around other people that are going to bring you joy, use this as the opportunity to clear things out right before your birthday. The beginning of March, when there's a new moon in Pisces, is like fucking magical. Like, I've been waiting for this for about a year, excuse me. It's going to be in about a month. But I think that this is going to be really good for you because it's going to kind of make you realize where you've been compartmentalizing and holding trauma in your body, and you need to release it and let it out, okay? Oh, that one. 2 of Cups. Partnerships and relationships. Another card came up too. It was the 10 of Wands. So 10 of Wands, 2 of Cups is letting it all go. You can be having a hard time getting over something. It can be getting over a cold, getting over a job that ended, getting over a breakup, whatever. And it makes me feel like there's new assistance and help on the way. It's coming for you. You're going to definitely see this, especially when we get into the full moon that is going to be in Virgo within about a month's time. It's going to bring about all kinds of changes in regards to your relationships. So I think right now you're in the clearing. So if you're having a hard time releasing or letting go of something, ask for help. The 6th house is about healing. So it's giving you the opportunity to talk to a therapist, talk to a doctor, talk to a best friend, talk to a healer, somebody who can help you actually move this energy around so you can be feeling better. All right, guys, that was a long video. Thank you for staying. I appreciate it. I hope that the full moon is good to you. I'm sending all the hopes and prayers your way. You can send it back to me. Remember, like I said, the wheels of fate are turning. So some of the events that are happening are about moving out of our karma, moving into our dharma. Don't be a victim. Let go of anything revolving around how the story used to be. Stay optimistic and open-hearted for the future. And when all else fails, be creative and join with like-minded people. You want a reading with me? Check out my links below at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. I've got some openings in about a month, half-hour sessions, full-hour sessions. Check out what I have to offer. Like I said, join my memberships if you want to support the channel. Do also consider signing up for my newsletter. I'll put the link below if you want to learn astrology with me. I'm also just thinking more about it, and I'm like, I think I'm going to do the astrology, and then I think I'm going to go back into teaching tarot as well. So if that's something you guys are interested in, let me know. Leave your comments below. How are you anticipating this full moon is going to play out? Where is it in your chart? And yeah, Godspeed. So I will see all of you guys very soon. Take care.